Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Common Unity. And Ben's disappeared on me. I don't know where Ben went. Ben's here too. Oi, Ben, are you there? No, now he's muted. Now he's muted. So yeah, guys, it is fucking middle of September. No, seriously, I should you not. It's the middle of fucking September. And I'm not sure where the summer went, and I have a feeling the autumn's going to go by just as quick. It's kind of like really, really crazy. Yeah. So this is our inaugural very first episode of Common Unity. But me and Ben and all the unfuckers floating around in the audience there. And we have a video. Now, I can say straight up front, I haven't had a chance to listen to this yet. Yeah, we've got Ben's chickens are laying eggs in the background. Everyone, if you're wondering what that crazy noise is, the chickens laying eggs. We had a video. I didn't get a chance to watch it. Ben was just briefly discussing it before we went live. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it with this archive so that everyone else can watch it at the end of the show. Ben, do you want to give it a little, because it was our opening, it was definitely the opening comment of where we want to go with all this.
Oh, hey, I don't know what to, it's basically just about responsibility and the aspects of where the possibilities of that being unknown that they are, where that could actually take us. And it's just his metaphorical translation of it is very, very poignant. As I said, yeah, like it's a must. It's a must.
The big R word. The big R word. And I know I sound like a broken record on this one, but right now, and quite frankly, especially we're looking at all over the world. We're watching on a greater scale, on a bigger scale. We're seeing where responsibility plays the role. In the fact that we have seen Hurricane Harvey come through, devastate Texas and parts of Louisiana. Hurricane Irma, it just went through Florida. It went through several of the Caribbean islands and devastated some of the Caribbean islands. Responsibility. And it's interesting because right now, one of the Caribbean islands that got pretty much really, really badly wiped out is Saint Martin. And right now, although the mainstream media is not talking about it, there is a complete rebellion going on. It's revolution in the country. The entire country is taking up arms against the government. And one of the premises, what I can gather, is the fact that the government didn't adequately warn. There we go. The government didn't adequately warn people to the severity of it. The government didn't take the responsibility, if you will, in the preparations of. So basically, you have all these people got wiped out. There was no food, no water, nothing, no responsibility or care was taken to ensure that the people were looked after, or that they could even look after themselves. We look at Hurricane Irma, and we've heard so many stories. We've heard the stories, and of course Harvey. Stories about people who've made it because they were prepared. They took responsibility on themselves. They were like, right, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to look after myself, my family, and my neighborhood if it comes down to that. And you have other people who literally just expected to be taken care of. Expected to be, that FEMA was apparently going to step in, because we know FEMA has such a good track record. Really. FEMA and Red Cross, such an amazing track record of actually helping people, which is, of course, their track record is zero for God knows how many times they get called into these things. Now that's the macro. That's the macro scale. If you want to look at the extreme of the word responsibility and taking responsibility for yourself. But on the micro, it's a daily thing in the choices that we make in life. Where we're going to go, what we're going to do, and being responsible for the choices that we make. Being responsible with the knowledge we have. There we go. This is one of the, I really want to touch on this. And I talked about it a little on, was it Sunday? No, last Wednesday maybe. Maybe it's Wednesday before. The cliquism, let's call it the cliquism, the insularism that really goes on throughout the, we'll call it the aware community. At multiple levels of awareness and various different aspects of it, but people who are relatively aware of what's really playing out around them has become massively cliquist. You know, people associate only with their inner circle. People only, you know, I'm only going to work within this group or this group or this, because these people are like my people, but never mind all these other people. And you see it in the arguments that play out. All you have to do is scroll through a Facebook wall. And you've got, you know, the flat earthers are yelling at the vegans, are yelling at the LGBT supporters, are yelling at the patriots, are yelling at the, it just goes everywhere. Everyone just separate yourselves out. Division, division, division. And the problem with that is the more insular we, and I understand the insularness, like we've all gone through, I can't guarantee anyone who's here right now, anyone who will watch this video later, you've all gone through certain levels of extreme ostracism, where you've just been ostracized by either your family, your community, your friends, other groups, because of the shit that you've tried to talk about. So it makes us kind of huddle together in little groups where you can be comfortable in talking to people. The problem is that when we do this, we're not bringing the knowledge out. We're sharing the knowledge amongst ourselves, which is fantastic, because everyone has their own piece to add to the puzzle, and everyone's got their own little specific rabbit hole that maybe they've done an exceptional amount of research in, that they can help other people understand what some of these things that are going on in a specific area. But in the greater good, that knowledge is kept hidden. Like I said, I get it. I get it, because I've been totally kicked out of groups. I've been ostracized. I've been, you know, where it's like you're labeled a complete loony bin, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a wackadoodle, the whole bit. So I get it. Sometimes you just want to pull in and just have civilized conversations with people who you know and trust. But what are we doing with the information that we have? What are we doing with the knowledge that we have gained? It's a piece of responsibility as far as I'm concerned. And there was an awesome video out, and you guys have all seen it, I guarantee it, about the way showers. And, oh God, that had to have come out in like 2012, at least. And it comes up, it goes around the rounds through Facebook at least once every 3 or 4 months, someone posts it again. And it's a brilliant video on the fact of, I do honestly believe that we are the way showers. And we're the seed planters. But you can't be a way shower and a seed planter from sitting within our living rooms. Right? That's part of the push that I had to create this show, Common Unity. Because we can all find unity without having to follow the same belief structures, without having to all believe the same thing or have knowledge about the same thing or be at the same level of awareness or the same place in the journey. And it really is time right now for common unity, to bring everyone together, to bring people together, bring groups together, to bring communities together, and start sharing the knowledge. Now, it doesn't have to be knowledge about 9/11. I know, I fell into the trap. Every 9/11, I always have to post a couple of memes. I can't help myself. But we have other knowledge. Everyone in this room has other knowledge. They have knowledge about things like alternative health and different medicines, and maybe they have knowledge about planting things and different ways of growing food, or different ways of sustaining yourself through diet. Different ideas about how to save money on electricity, how to live a more sustainable lifestyle. Different ideas about how you can make better skincare, make better soup, share your knowledge about how to fix your car to make it run the most efficiently that you can, or hey, let's talk hydrogen, whatever. There's all this knowledge that we can share. And it doesn't have to be with other awakened people, because I've been on a journey for the last couple of months to prove to myself that there are people out there who do want to know and who are absolutely open to learning all this new stuff. It might be just a crack, and maybe you have to find the pressure point that allows that crack to open. You need to find the common ground between you, your common point of interest that can be the opening salvo that you can get in there and you can start sharing information. That's part of what this common unity is about. It's not just about community, because community is where our goal is. It's our absolute goal. But before we can even get to the community aspect, we have to have common unity. And that, again, it doesn't just mean it within our awakened groups. It doesn't mean, within your little sphere of people you're comfortable with. It means maybe getting out and getting involved. And if you're not someone who's able to get out publicly and get involved in things publicly, get involved in a group. Find a couple of groups on Facebook or another social media outlet that have something to do with something that you like to do as a hobby. Something that you like to do as a hobby where maybe there's a little point there where you can start dropping some seeds in and educating people. Like I say, it might be something to do with gardening. Maybe you've got, there's someone started an online gardening group in your state or your province or whatever, and there's a whole bunch of people there. There are ways to be involved, and there are ways to work through it. And I honestly feel this is our moment. This is our moment when it is so strongly focused to me of bringing people together and finding the common ground that allows you to bring people together. Like I said, it may not be talking about 9/11. It may not be talking about chemtrails. But there's always a piece there. You can always find something. And I honestly believe that that's part of our responsibility. It's part of our responsibility as people who have the knowledge. Part of our responsibility is to share the knowledge that we have. And it's great that we share the knowledge within our groups. God knows in the Unfuckers group, the amount of amazing insights and the amount of wisdom and knowledge that floats around in that group is phenomenal. And we'll always have our central points where we can meet up, our community. But sometimes we have got to take that knowledge and spread it out and start bringing that knowledge out. So yeah, that's my little opening piece on this. That's what I wanted to talk about. Ben, you want to jump in? Because I know you do. I see you wiggling in your chair.
Well, yeah, no, nice segue. Hang on a second. I have a boy yell.
Daddy, I need you to wipe my bum. Daddy, I gotta go poo.
Just give me a second.
No problem, hon. So, yeah. Oh, you know what? I just realized I don't even have the chat loaded up. Sorry, guys. If you guys have been asking me, someone's eating chocolate biscuits and not sharing with me. That makes me really sad. Actually, I got a chocolate bar in the fridge. Yeah, I do. I forgot about that. So, yeah. So I want to hear, I'd like to hear, and we're going to get into this when Ben gets back, we're going to discuss this a little bit more, but what I would like to do is kind of with the show is kind of make it into a two-part segmented show, if you will. That the first part, we can bring ideas to the table and we'll discuss it, and I'd like to be bringing some guests in to talk about various aspects of all this, you know, like right down to community of like people who are doing it on the ground, boots on the ground, actually building community stuff. But I would like to open it so the second half of the show is a conversation, is a discussion where we can get everyone involved to talking about, bring the ideas forward. How can we get into this? What kind of ideas do we have? Sharing our own knowledge. Are you back, Ben? You're muted.
Right. We just had a storm rolling, so the internet sort of started going a little bit funny.
Oh,
but yeah, no, yeah, like literally, that's what I was saying. I mentioned the fucking hurricanes, and I looked at watching the map this morning, and Grafton, which is just south of us, has this weird pulsation thing happening over it. We're not supposed to have any fucking well into next week. And these storm clouds I've just watched rain start falling over the hills. It's really weird. But anyway, the segue, responsibility, Jordan B. Peterson, that video. And essentially he kind of starts off, there's two of them I sent you, right? One of them, he basically starts off and he's like cleaning your room. And one of the there was like a very high up general or something that started one of his speeches the same way about like cleaning your room. And that being kind of the starting place, because if you can clean your room, it's like once you get into the flow of that sort of thing, you actually learn stuff. You learn stuff about yourself. And by being able to organize that, it can expand into your personal life, your family life, your work life, and one of the test examples he gave was that he was speaking to their undergraduates, and they put a question forward, and they said, how much time do you guys reckon you waste? And the average was 4 to 6 hours a day, right? So then he started, yeah. So then they started, and this was like studying, mucking around on YouTube, Facebook, social media, these sorts of things, right? And then he he then worked it out and put it into a connotation where he was like, so if you guys are getting paid, that's a $50,000 a year salary that you guys are wasting by your words, right? By your value. So being responsible with your time. And the amazing thing that, like, because his explanation is awesome. It is fucking awesome, and it's just all awesome. But right towards the end, he goes, there's one point I want to make out. He's like, in this day and age, every one person is essentially connected or can be connected to a minimum of 1,000 people in their kind of lifetime, right? So when you start doing the maths, if you have 2 people, so all you have to do is connect another person to that person, and you've got like 100,000 or whatever it is. And then one more person, it's 1 million. And then one more person, it's 1 billion. So you're like 3 people away from being connected throughout your lifetime to 1 billion people. And like I said last week or the week before about the rinsing the coffee cup metaphor.
Yep.
That's what he's going into. He's like, so you're connected to that many people. So if you're having a bad experience, the ramifications, much like a pebble being dropped into a dam, exponentially has that effect. And we're all not really being responsible for our own actions, and therefore a lot of our own personal effect can be or possibly be taken from a viewpoint of what's going on. So what he actually goes into is if everyone was to be responsible for their stuff, we don't know. He's like, we don't know.
Where does that take us?
No idea. And I think it was the same guy who I watched, I can't remember, but he goes into how he's like the UN had a goal of addressing poverty, and it was in the year 2000, I think he said it was, where they were like, right, fuck it, we're going for it. And he actually went through some of the statistics, and the statistics are actually, and this is not me backing the UN, because it's not just the UN, it's stuff, it's people.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that have been actually pulled out of adverse poverty and all the rest of it, e.g., like hooked up to the grid or getting getting electricity, like the R&B artist fucking Akon has negotiated something like $1 billion contract throughout Africa to put in standalone solar powers for street lights, home lights, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, and it's phenomenal. So and then he sort of touches on the media bit about what they're selling you, kind of thing. And when in actuality there's all this other stuff going on, and if we actually started focusing on the other stuff and being responsible, it's kind of like CERN. They don't know.
They don't know.
It's the anti, like we don't know. We don't know. But that whole, 1 person to 1,000, 1,000 times 1,000, 100,000. So it's 3 people removed. Every 1 person is 3 people removed from the possibility of touching 1 billion people.
Yep. Well, even if
that's fucking massive, man.
If you even look it down, I mean, I don't know if anyone in North America remembers it was like a hair commercial for shampoo, and I can't even remember what brand it was now, but it was like, and she tried it, and she told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, so on and so on, and it shows you how it ends up being like 100 people just for the 1 person. But that's how we live. We have the ability now of doing it even more so because we have social media. So it's like I have, 4,000 friends. Now, of course, Facebook probably only about 1/10 of them actually see my posts. But even if you take and you say 1,000 friends, and I put a post out, and I can put out information, and I can something. It touches perhaps 1,000 people may see it. And then other people from watching their walls, their friends may see them. If they comment back to me, their friends then see. That feeds into what their friends see on the wall. And if they comment, and I have it happen all the time, I get people who comment on shit that I have no idea who these people are. But it's because someone else had in the conversation is one of their friends who's made a comment on the post, and they see it appear on their wall, and then that person comes in and comments. Well, then it then appears on their wall, and their friends then see it. It's a little piece. It's a little piece. And like I said, it doesn't mean sharing knowledge like this. We don't need to share knowledge like this. If anything, I would hope that we have all proved and seen over and over again the proof that it doesn't work. And I mean, I'm seriously guilty, number one guilty person for, I get really impassioned on certain subjects and I go fucking hard. And I know I freak people out when I really get going. I know, I've watched it in their eyes, like in live right there in front of me. When you watch them, they go, oh shit. But it's the little things. It's like I said, it's things like posting an article about something like blackseed oil and saying things like, oh, this stuff is just amazing. Did you know that there's a mainstream study that shows that taking black seed oil every day lowers your risk of heart disease and cancer by a huge amount? And it's the little thing. It's something it's not offensive. It's not offensive. But someone goes up, and then someone else sees it, and then they share that. Oh, that's a real. I didn't know that. Well, cool. Something like dandelions. How healthy are dandelions? Oh, well, here you go. Here's a little article about how healthy. You can do things by spreading it softly. Softly. And I think that's one of the things that we need to kind of focus on in being able to bring the information forward in a way that's palatable. Palatable. There you go, another good word. I know.
Categorizing, putting it into a what do you like, archiving all this sort of stuff, so that as and when people are ready, it's that like you were speaking before, you know, the idea is if the community's wanted and the island, let's say, is wanted. The thing is let's say that 1,000 people got together and put $1,000 in a bank account, all right, and purchased the island. What then?
Yeah, exactly.
That is it for me. Is what then? And you know, that's the stuff that we've been working on. But see, the other side of what we've been working on, it attaches in that unknown field, because the way that things like the map work and the specialties in that map work is you own and take responsibility for your skill. Yeah. Sorry. Clarify.
So people understand what map
the bioregional map that we've sort of shown on and off over the time, but which is essentially either it can be individual, so you put yourself in the middle, or you put your community in the middle, or you put your bioregion in the middle, and it's essentially a resource audit of everyone's skills and all that kind of stuff, and then the skill base fits into their field. So there's things like food support, building support, information support, healthcare support, future trends and potential threats, you know, all these different bits and pieces. And everything branches off those different bits and pieces. So the bits and pieces that branch off can't exist without the core, just the same as your existence can't exist without you.
Yeah.
So the idea being is that people take responsibility, and only the experts are at work in their fields of expertise. It's not to say that everyone doesn't learn it, but to start off with, everyone needs to concentrate on their expertise. You know, there are certain things that are needed for a community to exist, not just land.
Yep.
So it's those aspects of things that need to be sorted, discussed, worked out, and deliberated on. And like you said there at the beginning, it's like, it's not about where you are or what you believe in. It's an ethical thing.
Yes.
It's an ethical thing.
And here's something I want to put forward.
That's what it is.
Just to put this forward, and because this is another point, and this is why the common unity is so fucking vital. I love our untruckers. I love our fucking group. But there are people within the group who hate other people in the group, who have certain people blocked, who have certain, you know, It happens in Zoom where someone says something and it pisses someone else off and then they leave. And okay, if we are this small group and we can't learn to all get along responsibly, be responsible for our own actions and reactions, how can we
be responsible for your biases?
Be responsible for your biases. And that's the fucking big one. That's the really, really big fucking tough one. We know. But if you cannot be responsible for yourself, your actions and reactions, to be able to have an online conversation, how can you build?
And I just want to. Nancy has said, so all community members would have to have shared values. It's not about that so much. In essence, yes, but it's an ethical thing, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like,
yeah, define that.
Do you like the current paradigm as it is?
That.
You know, do you currently like where we're at, right? And if we were to, like last week, we talked about how, you know, if you were to identify what, like, if you were to look at the human society and the westernized base one, basically, you know, whether it's, you know, China or South Korea or any of those things, doesn't matter so much. What we're talking about is the humanity as a society. And the reason I say Western is because that's the fucking shit that's kind of playing out at the moment, is the Western side of things. That fucking, you know, banking, fucking commercial, whatever it is, doesn't matter, church, rah, rah, all same shit. But there's this human society, or this human society, but yes, against something. You know, you can split human society up into those factions, the LBGTY, the fucking Black Lives Matters, the KKK, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. They're all just trying to express something that they think that they fucking know, or that they think that they feel, or that they think that they need to express because of whatever, whether their parents were white as well, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. But you have this human society against a thing. So if you don't like the thing, what needs to transpire for that thing to no longer exist? You know, Buckminster Fuller said, you will never beat the current model. You need to create a new model that makes the old one obsolete.
Yep.
Which is one of the reasons why I sort of sit there and say, okay, you know, it depends on who's in charge, but things like Bitcoin or the blockchain, leave Bitcoin out of it, but the blockchain itself essentially puts forward a possible model for without infraction, without interference. It's constantly audited and checked. It's constantly audited and checked. It's a resource data chain that is audited and checked by multiple people constantly. And that just creates more digits, which creates more auditing.
Yeah. It's not a rehash of the new. It's not a Band-Aid on the new. It's not a let's fix it. It is, not that it is. It could be the opportunity to be something completely new. And then isn't that what we're all working for? None of us wants to resurrect the old system. None of us wants to, even fix it.
No. And how blatant does the old system have to get? It's like we've spoken about this before. You now, like America, the corporation has a franchise. I'm not fucking joking about this shit. Call him what you want. The corporate America, the corporation. Can you hear me?
Yep.
The wind just picked up hardcore. The corporation is being run by a franchise.
Yep.
Okay? Comprehend that completely. I'm very serious. So that's how blatant it is. I mean, a bill got passed 2 days ago in Australian Parliament where the Treasurer is borrowing $4 billion from the IMF at 2.5%, and they are lending it back to the IMF at 0.4% interest.
What?
And that just got passed. Yeah. It got passed with 4 people in Parliament.
Well, that's where all the secret bills get passed, is they wait till no one's in Parliament. They're all on summer vacation, Christmas vacation, or dealing with floods. And then they pass bills where they can say, oh, it passed unanimously, but unanimously means that all 4 of them actually passed it. And they do it on purpose.
Well, it's being passed on. What is it being passed on? Like, basically, no one turns up. A couple of people have some proxies, and the proxies outweigh the people that are going against it, and that's it. So you've got all these no votes, and the proxies might be 6 to 2 or 4 people that actually turned up against them.
So, yeah, the system's broken. That's why we're trying to create the new, right?
So back to the thing is, it's not so much values, it's ethics. And I always talk about Bill Mollison's designer's manual, permaculture designer's manual, because it keeps me out of trouble because there's a manual and I'm just going by the fucking manual. But he puts forward 3 ethics, and he wrote it 30 years ago. And just give me 2 seconds, D, because I'll go and grab it so I can actually read the people, right?
And ethics is another one of those words that's been tainted, right? Because ethics has kind of come to me now, or let's say public opinion through social media and etc. Ethics has been equated now with religion, with belief structure. That's not what ethics means, though. Ethics is, here we go. Let's pull up. I'll let him read. He'll read to you the whole 3 ethics, and there you go. Permaculture Designer's Manual, Jim Morrison.
Bill Mollison, not Jim.
Mollison, sorry.
That's all right. Now, I'm just going to find where are we? Okay. Basically, this is on page 508. It's 14.3 in the manual of chapter 14. It is under the title of A New United Nations. He says, and basically, I'll just read it. It's a couple of paragraphs, but he says, the United Nations today is neither united nor represents nations. It is like the oft-quoted moral majority, which is also neither of those things. Many true nations, such as the Iroquois Confederation or any tribal alliance with a common ethic, are not represented by such a body, nor are whole nations such as the Basques, Tartars, Kurds, Palestinians, Hawaiians, Hopi, Tibetans, Pitjantjatjara, which is a tribe in Australia, the Mosquito, Aranda, Baswara, Herero, etc., etc. Most nations in the United Nations repress a majority of the peoples on earth. Talking with Thomas Banyaka, a Hopi messenger of his people, it became clear to me that we need a new concept of nation and a new representative body to speak for them. We start by defining a nation as a people subscribing to a common ethic and aspiring to similar culture. Such nations may not have a common land base or language, but do have a common ethic, minimally. Now, he wrote this 30 years ago, so we've changed a couple of the words. So I'll read you his original ones, and I'll tell you why we changed them.
Okay.
To care for the earth, to repair and conserve, to seek peace, and to guard human rights everywhere, and to invest all capital, intelligence, goodwill, and labor to these ends. Right. Now, 30 years ago when he wrote this, we had a chance at what they call sustainability in the essence of sustainability. Now, what we changed them to is to care for the earth, regenerate, and preserve, because to conserve means to hold back, whereas preserve is to keep for and still be able to use, as opposed to, that's why they have conservation areas. It gives them the ability to actually stop you from going there. Invest in creating a peaceful future by ensuring the rights of all living organisms. Now, if you remember, he said to seek peace and to guard human rights everywhere. However, if we're going to basically, in my eyes, claim to be sentient beings, and then we have other sentient beings here, we can't just care for ourselves. So we have to take care of everything, because we are a representation of that, micro macro style. Now, what he had said for the first one was to invest all capital, intelligence, goodwill, and labor to these ends. So what we change it to, instead of investing, we change it to proliferate, which is what a mushroom does, or mycelium does. It proliferates an area, so it spreads exponentially. Like I say, you're 3 people away, essentially, in your lifetime from touching 1 billion people's lives. So, yeah, like I say, proliferating all that capital, knowledge, and goodwill to these ends, which means that all the energy and excess energy goes back into the first 2.
Yeah.
That's where the excess goes.
Knowledge and energy. Those are really, really important. As far as I'm concerned, those are the 2 key. Those are the 2 key points of the knowledge and energy back into. But it's not just looking at it as a community like this, but the common unity of the whole. Because that's it. We're all human beings. We're all one species. Yeah. There is no division, there is no separation, etc., etc. So the expansion of that knowledge and the giving of knowledge of energy out. Now it's interesting. So ethics, I want to pull up something here. I want to read this to you guys. Okay, because I will go up. Let's look at the etymology of the word ethics to give a little more clarity on this. Okay? Ethics is the science of morals from the 1600s. Plural of the Middle English ethic, study of morals. Okay? When you look at ethic, is the study of moral from Old French, moral philosophy. From the late Latin ethica, from the Greek ethique, philosophy. I'm not going to try and say these ridiculous Latin words. Moral philosophy. Ethical from ethos, the moral character related to ethos, custom, meaning the moral principles of a person or group, as attested from the 1600s. Now, this is where we go into it, because again, morals is another one that has been twisted to be given a connotation of religion, right? Okay, moral, from the mid-14th century, pertaining to character or temperament, good or bad. From the Old French morale, directly from the Latin moralis, proper behavior of a person in society, pertaining to manners. To translate the Greek ethikos, from Latin, one's disposition, mores, customs, manners, morals. Literally, the proper behavior of a person in society pertaining to manners. That's ethics. It has nothing to do with religion. Literally, nothing to do with religion or belief structures. Because you can be a responsible person and be a Catholic or a vegan or a Muslim or a Buddhist or a flat earther or pick another divisionary line. You can be Icelandic, you can be Australian. It doesn't matter.
And why?
And
because you're human. I mean, you know, and I'm not afraid of that word, but that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
we're all that. We're all part of that.
Yeah.
So, however you go about your duties, or your day, or your existence, if you have those ethics in mind and you're responsible, you have no impact, as in no you have no negative, and what negative impact, and I'm not talking electrical fields or anything here.
No, you have no negative impact.
You have no negative impact on your exterior. Now, if you could do that, what would happen? And seriously, like, think about that. Like, it's, like there's a guy, I think it's the same dude of those two shows, Robertson. And there's a thing that he talks about. He's like, responsibility. And he did what I just did then. And he's like, but think about it. He's like, because like the atheists, like, they don't have a God. So da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, I can't remember the nihilists. He's like, they don't have like, they might have all this pain and anguish and da-da-da-da, but they have their pain and anguish. They have no responsibility. So they don't have that burden. They don't have the burden of it. So they can gripe and whinge about their existence, and other people will hear it and feel sorry, and they'll exist that way. But to have responsibility, like, that in itself, like, it almost sort of makes me teary, like, putting myself in that position, because I try, but there are certain things, and we've all got to work on shit. There's always the hero's journey, or but that's the responsibility, because the responsibility will always go, like the cleaning of the room. Maybe I can just do a little bit better. So every time that voice comes in and goes, nah, nah, it's like, oh, what's that? Is that something I can work on? Is that something and every step in that is responsibility. And that's the burden. That's the cross. That's the grudge, to put it into Tulfan's words. We all carry that grudge, and the grudge is that we aren't being responsible, because we always fucking feel guilty for the thing that we know that we could have done that we didn't do. And that's the starting place.
It is
That's the starting place.
Personal responsibility. I want to go backtrack to what you said about if we can go through our day. Let's not even say life. Let's say our day, putting no negative impact into that which surrounds us. Whether it is the streets you're walking on, not leaving litter, every aspect of our life, there's so many things that we can do without negative impact. Because when you become aware, you become aware. And we all fall down. Literally, we all freaking fall down. And we all have shit to work on, like massive amounts of shit to work on. Yeah, I know I do. But when we go to that place of self-responsibility, then we can start putting that outside of ourselves too. And it doesn't mean that we have to fix this totally and completely before we can do this out here. Because it's a multi-layer work in process, right? Like, as you work on yourself, you're working on the stuff out here that's in the immediate field, your family, your home, your immediate contact. And then it spreads out from there in concentric circles, out and out. And we can work on all of those things all at the same time.
Well, it's a toroid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you put yourself in that place of responsibility, and if everyone was that's your reflection. So as above, so below, as in without.
Yeah.
Or without within. Within without.
Yep.
So it all, like, that's the whole thing, is like the now is all coinciding right now. Every now.
It's all the now.
Which I know, I know that lots of people can sit there and be like, oh, but that's the hard part. That's the stress. That's the thing. But then at the same time, I revert back to another professor I was watching, and he was talking about stress. And he poured a glass of water, and I think I mentioned it last week, and he said, how heavy is the glass? And he said to, all the students, he's like, how heavy? And one was 6 ounce, 8 ounce, 12 ounce. He goes, well, it doesn't matter. It's like, because I can hold this for a minute, and that's fine. I can hold it for an hour and my arm starts getting tired. I could hold it for a day and my arm would feel paralyzed. The weight of the glass has not changed, but my perception of it has, because of whatever. All I got to do is put it down and I got my arm back. and that's what it is. It's like the stresses, the more that you keep them in your field, whether it is the dishes, whether it is the vacuuming, whether it is the washing, whether it is da-da-da-da-da. Like, fair enough, I got up at 4:30, but my housework's done. I've got an appointment at about 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning, and we're ready to kind of walk out the door, and it's, 10 to 8. And that's just because instead of fucking sitting down and going, oh, I'll jump on the news and have a look at the radars, or I did the dishes and swept the floor and fed the chickens and that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
But that's because I've got to be responsible today. I've got the boy, I've got yada, yada, yada. So every day is different. And for me, each week can be different because there's different things to juggle. But if you are responsible for the actions of, like you say, your general field, and some, there are single parents that have 2 kids or 4 kids and yada, yada, yada. But the responsibility starts in the teaching and the actions, because that's what children see.
Yeah.
So it's not so much worrying about the words that you use with children, although you do have to be careful. And I have to put my hand up, I can lose my shit sometimes. But it's the actions. It's the actions.
And the energy.
If they see that you're hardworking, that you're trying and da-da-da-da-da, and they are involved, it will come out when they get older. I've just realized that about my family, like my grandfather died 2 days ago. And I found out yesterday morning, oh, it's okay, it's been coming. 91, man, like fucking soldier. But, it was funny because I was talking to mum and dad and they're arranging the funeral, and for the first time we've seen both the fucking platypuses in the dam right at that moment, which was like quite cool. I can't remember why I jumped on that topic, but that looking at my family and like fucking, I remember that by the time I reckon I was fucking maybe 10, I had been involved in 3 from start to finish house build, all of just my dad and his brothers and my grandfather and my aunties and everything, building these fucking houses for each other.
Yeah.
And that it's that kind of shit. It's like, Eloise, my partner's sort of just had my parents staying, and she's like, holy fuck, I'll see where you get it from. Do they stop? And it's like, but my whole family's like that, like I said to her last night, I was like, if they were all here, there wouldn't be anything to do. Stop for lunch and then they'd just get straight back into it.
Yeah.
Because there's shit to do.
Well,
and you have a life. And that's the thing. It's like, if you don't use the arm, you lose it. If you don't use your brain, you lose it.
Yeah.
It's like, we can sit there and say America destroyed this, Britain destroyed that, and the church destroyed that, but we never lost the ability to learn. Okay, they tried to beat it out of us. They tried to burn it out of us. But look, we're now in this age. We're not then. We're not in the Middle Ages if they were actually the fucking Middle Ages, and we're not in fucking Mesopotamia if it was Mesopotamia. We're now. Yep. In that essence, we're now, and that's where we're at. And they've tried to break us, and they've tried to split the family, and they've tried to break them in, and they've tried to beat them, and we're still fucking here talking, exactly. Which is great. But now it's like we're sick of it, right? We're all a bit bored. And that's the thing is when that responsibility side kicks in, it's like everything changes. Everything changes.
Yeah. And I want to put this little thing out there, going back to the whole thing of the word of manners. For me, manners is synonymous with responsible, being responsible. Because when you are responsible, you have manners, i.e., you do those things. You are polite. They kind of go together, hand in hand. Because manners doesn't mean, elbows off the table and no talking politics during dinner. That's not what we mean by manners. Manners is common courtesy. And that's
conformity.
Responsibility. So I want to turn this around. I want to put this out here because it's simple something. Like I said, I can talk only from my own journey. Ben can talk from his journey. And we can talk about the journeys that we've experienced together, the journeys that we've experienced alongside other people, but we can only talk from ours. So for me, like I said, I used to be heavily involved in a lot of different stuff. Heavily involved 10 years ago in, like I said, maternal and infant health, and involved in environmental issues, like majorly involved in environmental issues, things like that. And I left that aside, a lot of that work aside, and most of it, as I moved forward and started really getting into the deep, deep conspiracy theories, those rabbit holes. And then I've realized for myself, and it's been through the help of friends, through the help, I know they have no concept of it. The lovely people that I've met here in Gozo who I've become friends with, who aren't aware of a lot of the shit that is going on in the world, politically, financially, in the corporate structures, but they have really opened my eyes and helped me see where I need to go. And I can't thank them enough, because literally I've had an amazing experience over the last few months, and very slowly evolving things where things start to come into focus. So for me, it's like I got involved, and I'm getting involved or getting back involved with the things that I used to be really impassioned over that I have knowledge on. So things like helping out with the breastfeeding support group, helping out with a group here who is doing, we have a real bad problem with litter here and dumping and garbage dumping. It's horrific. And I mean, it's in a lot of places. I mean, we all know it's what happens. This is a beautiful, beautiful island, and it's disgusting to see like piles of old trash. Not new trash that the dog has ripped the bag apart, but I mean old trash that has been dumped. So I've gotten involved, and I volunteered to get in and be one of the coordinators for our village, for looking after the trash area in this village, and being responsible, going out and we've got a real bad problem on this corner. We'll report it in, make sure we know that we got some big trash where we're going to need a truck to come into, like old chest of drawers or an old broken down refrigerator, cars. I'm getting involved. I'm getting involved on a local level. And I know that these people who I'm working with, they have no clue. They have no clue about how deep the fucking bullshit rabbit hole goes. But it's the way I can give back, and it's the way that I can work within the community. And while I'm doing this work, I know that I can bring more awareness to people on different levels. And I've actually just been asked to join a working group that is going to be putting together a whole pile of information that's going to be presented to the Maltese Parliament with regards to waste disposal and recycling. And they've asked me to join the group and be one of the people to help pull this thing together. Why? Because I finally let go of some of my inhibitions of my Gozo Facebook profile and started talking out about certain subjects in some of the Gozo groups that I'm involved in. Started talking about, well, look, you can't look at this way, because here's the problem. this is a one-sided view and you're not getting the whole story, and we have to look at this, and this. Now, there's a lot of people, I bet you 95% of the people in the group went, whatever, don't care, it's about garbage. I'm not interested in waste disposal. But there's enough people who are impassioned who went, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's really, really good. And who reached out to me to get more information. Now, that's just my little piece. That's just what I've been impassioned to do. But I know that all the people in this group here and in the Unfuckers group and in RTS Earth and who will watch this video later, you all have things you're passionate about. I think it's time that we start bringing this stuff back out to the community and sharing this knowledge that we have, that we've gained, even if it's just in a very small way. Very, very small way. Very small.
But see, each small bit is a block in the wall, right? That's the whole thing. Or removing a block, depending on how you look at it.
And
I mean, together, I'm pretty sure we could identify. Yeah, exactly. Pay it forward. That kind of theme. Yeah, it's like you should never do anything with the expectation of receiving something back. That's not what it's about. Then you're not actually doing anything, because all you're actually achieving is you're if you want to ethereally, you're fucking lending you're giving out a fucking loan with interest, and that interest goes one way or another. They either fucking pay it back, or you get a fucking stick in your ass and fucking get pissed off and won't even talk to the person about why you're pissed off. And you know why you don't generally talk about it? It's because you realize that you did something for them that was done actually compassionately, and now you need help, and you generally can't ask for it. That's what generally ends up happening to me. Yeah. But see, that's that thing, right? Yep. That's that responsibility. It's like you make what you create. It's like not that I'm going near the melanin thing yet. We'll talk. Lily and I can talk about that another time in the near future. But essentially, it's the same sort of how do you put it? Your body reacts to your eyes. Your eyes fucking transfer what it sees or what it detects. Yeah. So like with melanin doesn't just activate because it's in your skin. Yeah, I've actually found way more than just 2 melanins. Oh yeah. Which is even more exciting. It's really funny because when you look up the compound, it's COOH, which is carbon dioxide or water. Anyway. I digress.
We're not sidetracking right now, darling. We're not sidetracking right now.
Yeah. No. But it's the same. It's the same thing, right? You create it.
Yeah.
You create what's in front of you. If you create a responsible field, that's what you have. Yeah. Yeah. A responsible field is a clean field, energetically speaking. Yeah. And that feeds energetically. So if you go into something, doing something with an expectation that you haven't even discussed, you're already ripping yourself off. Huh? You're already setting yourself up for default.
Yep. Assumptions. As Nick always says, and if you look at the word assume, makes an ass of you and me.
Yeah.
Hi, Donnie.
Hi, Lenny.
Hi. I do not have anything here to raise my hand with, so I apologize. There's nothing to raise my hand, so I always feel like I'm just jumping in the ocean.
If you click on the very bottom menu,
yeah,
you'll see one that says participants. And if you click on it, it'll open the sidebar. And at the very bottom, there's a little thing that says raise hand. But if you don't know where it is...
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, it's a miracle. You don't even know how I was looking for that little thing. Yikes. Okay, thank you. I have, and no, I'm not going to talk about melanin, but I'm listening to you and I'm getting, as always, energetic hits. And as I feel into this space, what I hear is the word actually authentic, not responsible, but authentic. And I hear the other word accountability. And first of all, let me just extend my empathy to you, Ben, for your grandfather. Okay, so here goes. What the download that I just got is that we because let me back up, because what's happened in the powers that be not, they've taken it, which is only an extension of us, which I won't get into now, have taken it upon themselves to place themselves in between us and water, us and food, us and nature, us and one another, us and free energy, et cetera, right? So they've placed themselves in between. So one of the things that came to me is that we're rebraiding with each other. We're rebraiding depending
on I
like that. Yes, I knew you would. I knew you would. We're rebraiding. Yeah, I just got this download as you were speaking. We're rebraiding depending upon resonance and frequency, where we're resonating at. That's the other individuated expression will be rebraiding with. I'm not talking about connection. By default, we're already connected. I'm talking about rebraiding. So, and it came to me that rebraiding is the manifestation, is the word, of the DNA rebraiding. And that's how it's out picturing, right? So that's the download I just got. Now, the other thing is not only to be authentic and be accountable, because responsibility has changed for me. Responsibility now to me is responding from what I really am.
Yeah.
From what, like when I get an intuitive impulse, when I hear a voice in my head, when I hear a thought, am I challenging it? Is that the authentic self? Is that really me? Is it programmed? So what it comes down to is know thyself, right? And so to know thyself, we're going to have to be accountable for the programs that we embody, if you will, for lack of a better word right now. And then the energetic to transmute is that's the whole thing. It's like I'm talking through a computer to both of you, right? You are talking through a computer back to me, et cetera, et cetera. But it's that we've gotten used to energetically. I'm not saying that we're on board with it or we're attached to it or anything like that. We've gotten used to communicating with one another that way. We've gotten used to going to supermarket for food. We've gotten used to going to store for water. So it's like, in part of that, being accountable for ourselves and then responding from what we really are and being authentic, like you said, Donnie, to rediscover, get back in touch with what makes us feel passionate, because that is being authentic.
Yeah.
And when we are being passionate and we're happy, that's what we're going to extend. And in that's even deeper, because then when we're doing what's passionate, we're respecting ourselves, we're honoring ourselves, we're freaking happy, right? We're joyous, we're harmonious, we're vibing really, really, really resonant. So that's going to be emitted through all layers. and then following through with the action, that just seals the deal.
Yeah.
So it's really that what Ben was saying, everyone, you know, I know he used the word responsible, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. Well, I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know.
Well, I mean, and we can.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But authentic is a great word, and it is a great word, and Ben touched on it just a little earlier.
Yeah.
We're human beings.
Well, see,
we know.
Yeah. Well, what Jordan Robinson, that's exactly what he says. He goes, the step-by-step thing is once you start taking responsibility, then start being able to actually see your true self. Then people start being able to see your true self. And then you are authentic. Mm-hmm. And so you're exactly right. It's just, like I say, it's all dialogue. And the reason I use responsibility is because if you do something, you're responsible for that something. E.g., whether you think it, whether you think you thought it, whether you felt it, whether you dirtied the cup, whether you spilt the milk, whether you fucking, you know, made the dirty clothes, whatever it is, you have a part in that. And that's the only reason why that word is used, is basically because material, like I said earlier, is like, it's a reflection, right? If you live, like, and this is me speaking from experience, if you live in a mess, and like Dee will always say to you guys, like, if you ever want me to help with like research, it's like, because of the way I fucking have everything stored, although I'm getting better at filing, but since I've gotten better at filing, man, like my life has changed in that aspect. But like I say, I get up and it's 6:30, you know, I do this, and by 7 o'clock, all this and this and this are done. And since having got this harmonic routine in my life, everything's shifted, because I sit there and like, my son is my responsibility. So fucking, you know, little bugger doesn't necessarily always pick up after himself. So those things are my things. You know, if my partner's at work 4 or 5 days a week and I have 3 or 4 days off, I'm going to do the washing, I'm going to do the housework, why? Because then when the time we have together off, we get to spend together, and she's not feeling like she has to do this, that, or the other. Yep. So that's why I use the word responsibility. Your authentic self wants to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Your authenticity wants to be responsible. Why? Because who the fuck wants guilt?
Yeah.
Like, no, like, people can receive energy, right? And we all do receive energy, but who wants it? Who actually wants it? And the only place that guilt comes from is not doing your shit and being responsible. That's where it comes from.
Yep.
Because you always will make yourself bad if there's something you could have done. And like, if you think back on all those times that if you had have done what you could have done, how much different could you have been?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And how much more authentic could you have been? How much time do you spend possibly tidying up mishaps that you weren't responsible for? Who broke the mirror? Wind. It was definitely the wind.
Yeah, yeah. You know? But this is the thing. Okay, the guilt, right? So, the guilt aspect of it, Ben, is exactly this. We as human beings, you intrinsically know when you've done something to hurt someone, and you know that it's bad. And there's the guilt. Yeah, we have our psychopaths and our sociopaths and our narcissists and all the rest of it. And you have those who are like totally fucking under the programming. But on the whole, people know what's right and wrong at a very basic level. And that is part of that responsibility. And we don't need to be taught this. We may need a reminder. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we have some old fucking programming shit that we all got to break through to fucking get back to that authentic place. But we all intrinsically know what's right and wrong. And like I say, on the greater level, on the big things. And that's being authentic. And we can be authentic to ourselves.
Completely.
Ben and I've got a time lag. Ben and I've got a major time lag going on, I can tell.
Yeah. The weather is weird. Yeah. Although we're on, land, fucking ADSL, it's not satellite, so.
Yeah.
But that for me, is the kind of thing is the ethics, and then from the ethics you can, like, we could start a list of what we want our community to be like, but if you really thought about bits and pieces, you could actually nut them down to, you've got it down to 9 specialty groups that then everything branches from. You don't have to have 9. On an individual level, I broke that down to 4, and then the 9 stem from the 4.
Yeah.
Because essentially the reason that the bioregional map was created was for catastrophes, e.g. when something shit happens, how do you recover, right? And what, me being me, the optimistic one, I've always sort of gone, well, do we need it to go that far? Is there a catastrophe management? So can we, it's like I say, my friends always crack up. I've just been mapping out the ranges here and working out, how high certain things are and how many mountain ranges between us and the coast are. And they're always like, Ben, you're just such a fucking, da-da-da, because I'm always talking about waves but I'm like, hey, waves, floods, fires, fucking da-da-da-da-da-da-da. How much more signs do we need to just be prepared? Just be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And preparation doesn't mean necessarily digging a bunker in the fucking backyard and da-da-da-da-da, because, hey, guess what? There's been races here for eons, and guess what? They've been telling us about the fires and the earthquakes and the volcanoes and the floods.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about. It's about being prepared, and pre-preparation prevents piss poor performance.
It's a responsibility.
Well, exactly.
And that goes back to exactly what it started off at the beginning when we talked about Harvey and Irma, and we talked about all these horrific natural disasters that happen, and the difference that we saw between those who were prepared and prepared for whatever emergency could come up within reason. Like I say, it doesn't mean digging a frickin' nuclear bomb fallout shelter in their backyard, but being prepared versus those who are completely unprepared, who live on the whole thing of like, well, the government will look after me. FEMA will look after me, or someone will evacuate me, or someone will feed me or clothe me, or,
And that's the other part of it, is like that's always been there, right? The nanny state side of it, but really, when it comes to the disasters and the catastrophes and that, who's actually the ones that are on the ground helping out straight off the bat?
It's always the people.
So, like I say, preparedness prevents piss poor performance. So,
okay, someone write that down.
I'm
going to want that back. I'm going to want a reminder of what that. I think we might. That might actually be the name of this archive.
I think that was actually a Bill Mollison quote. Yeah, the 5 Ps. So the essence, right, of like what we were talking about, is like sharing, yes, archiving, better.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I'm sort of wanting to go, and you finally sort of, I think, got there with like the RTS Earth thing. So if we can start an archive, like a fucking international archive of all the good shit, none of the fucking bad shit. Forget about what government fucked who, like, and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about, you know, all the different good shit that's going on.
The real knowledge.
Article. Yeah. I'm working on the timeline, and in the future, very near future, we'll hopefully be asking for some people to help with some timeline. But the only reason the timeline that we're working on exists is because of work other people have done, and it makes perfect sense. And if it's presented in a timeline, people will actually be able, well, like I say, like when I talk of my personal experience or shit that I've read, and the shit that I've read, I then either research further because that's the only thing that can be done, or I try and implement it. And then I know whether it is a fact or not. Now, the stuff that is written is what we have to go by. The stuff we channel, download, intuit, feel, and all that kind of stuff, that's another side of things. But the stuff that's written, they wrote it. Now, that's not to say that they haven't gone and twisted it, bent it, this, that, or the other. But there are certain rules, let's say, that are also very present that have to be stuck to. Regardless of what anyone sort of says, when you really start getting to the nitty-gritty of it, there are rules that even the people between us and the other things have to abide by. I'm sorry, like we
they have rules as much as they,
like we have documents that we found from the UN, like having meetings talking about certain bombing incidences in certain countries, and then fucking the two countries that were involved basically apologizing to each other, signing a treaty, and that treaty becomes a new international code, right? But they don't tell you all of these fucking things. So fuck, where was I going with all that? Yeah, so essentially we can see that shit doesn't work. So there's no need to look there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and as I was saying, that's what the reason for the timeline is, just to be able to go, this is why we're saying this. No other reason.
Yep.
You know, why do I talk about the earth and the world being different things? Because certain entities called it different things.
Yeah.
You know, we do have different timelines that exist, and they are religious timelines, basically, set in religion, or culture timelines. China, I'm pretty sure their newspapers are not 2017 all the time. I'm pretty sure they have different dates as well. So that stuff doesn't fucking matter. But if we can get to a point where we have archives, if we have like things like the Venus Project, they might not be bang on perfect and everyone can go, oh, AI, the robots might take over. But once again, it depends, right? If an AI was really to become conscious in the interweb that exists, for whatever particular reasons, I'm pretty sure that unless it's absolutely programmed for destruction, and that is absolutely all, it will look at shit and go, oh yeah, I can see who the cunts are.
Exactly. That's what I always say.
It will deal with them.
One nano
and on the other hand,
yeah, there's the problem.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, if AI can be created for just destruction, then AI can be created for the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Creation.
Yep.
So once again, it depends on who's in charge. So we come back to the crux of, there is one sort of thing that is in between us and what we want, or what our goals are, or our aspirations, or what our ethical drive is. And as I said, Buckminster Fuller said, there's no point trying to beat it. A new model has to be created.
No.
Right? We have to have a new stance. And that's what I was saying last week. It's like, knowing all that we know, coming from where we come from, seeing the way we see, we actually have to come from a different perspective for these discussions.
Yeah.
So when we enter things like this, it's not, oh my God, the weather, da 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 da. It's okay. So there seems to be an apparent weather anomaly happening across the planet, right?
Weather
so,
fuckery is happening.
What? Mm-hmm. Now, all of these things, once again, but like, you know, the implication, it's funny, my brain, it just goes, if everything is water and water holds the charge and you're 90% water and there's 9 billion people on the planet, I don't know how much fucking water that is. There's a whole lot of fucking water, and the water in you is connected to the water in the ionosphere.
Yeah. And the oceans and seas.
I can guarantee you that it's a whole lot more than like 4 trillion watts.
Yeah.
Right? And that and what that means is or essentially what that means is you don't have to focus on HAARP and blow it up. You don't have to get 9 billion people to focus on a certain point in the ionosphere. You just ignore the shit. That's how you redirect your charge.
Yeah.
That's how you redirect your influence.
Not being prepared, being blithely unaware, but you ignore the shit of it. There's a flood somewhere? Okay, there's a flood.
You be aware of it.
Deal with it.
Aware of it.
But not live in the...
You have to have awareness.
Yeah. Clive is in the chat room making up acronyms left, right, and center. It's hysterical. Ignore the shit.
I know. Well, hey, I love it because that's what I do. I try and turn everything into an acronym.
That's
it's
why
like we have accelerated natural systems, right? Which is ANS, which is a mixed modality management system. So like M cube S.
That's not going to be so easy to do, dude. Mixed modality. I can't even say it once the long, 3 times fast.
Mixed modality management.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. So we didn't really split this as a half and half show this time, but that's okay. It was going to ramble. We knew that. You guys out there, obviously lots of awesome comments in the chat room. Does anyone want to add their 2 cents in? Their opinions or 2 cents to this conversation thus far? Lily, I see you've got your hand up again.
Okay. Am I back on board?
You are.
Touchdown. Okay. I'm enjoying listening to both of you. The other thing I get is, you know, sometimes as we do this releasing of programs and to actually uncover the authentic self, if you will, because it's buried under layers of, you know, muck, just call it that. And that's the thing, is because it's buried, we're in it's in us, but we are, as awareness, we are living awareness. So as this awareness, we are beginning, and if not full-fledged into it, beginning to identify as what we really are. See, because all of the things that Ben and yourself are talking about that becomes issues when we believe in a person identity.
Yep.
We are not that person. That is not the identity. That is not the place to come from. You know, I mean, it functions. It's valid. It's, you know, it's valid. It's a part of the whole, but it's not the main identity. It is not the main identity. It is a character. It is a character. And so when I feel like when I began to move away from the character and question every single thought, and it wasn't as much work as it sounds like. It was really, as I just began accepting what I was, all the bogus thoughts started standing out like sore thumbs.
Yep.
So it's not, we call it inner work, but it's actually not work that way, like efforting work. It's awareness. It's awareness. And so this responsibility, all the things that we're talking about, community, responsibility, accountability, authenticity, those all come naturally from what we are.
Yep.
But we really, I really had to be willing, and I guess this would go for anyone, but I really had to be willing to release even, and I put this in my book, even the programs I was fond of. Because, you know, we say program and it's not always
the biases that are there, but you like those ones. I don't want to get rid of but I like those ones.
Yes, we say, yes, Donnie. We say programs and like we get a negative connotation with it, but man, some programs are really great. That's why we run them. They're really fun. That's why we run them until they're not fun anymore. Until they're not great anymore. And it's through and that, see, that word responsibility for me used to mean an obligatory thing, like an obligation, like I'm responsible. But that obligation just doesn't like work energetically for me. That's why accountability really works for me. And it was very helpful for me to use accountability. And responsibility then shifted into responding from what I really am minus the programs. That's what it's like. Responsibility was responding from, not responding to.
What's your ability to, right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. My ability to, yes, respond from what I really am. Yes, Ben.
And that's one of the reasons. That's why I read the two different types of ethics. They're basically 30 years apart. One was written in a time where should that designer's manual have been adopted as, like, let's say a council on a local level, everything would be different. Everything would be different. But we had to update them now. So responsibility is gone from being something that, which is your ability to like the word, sorry, has just fucking shifted completely out of my brain there.
It's because we're breaking down the word energy.
Not obligation. The word that you use now instead of responsibility.
Authentic.
Accountability.
What was it?
Accountability.
No, it wasn't all. Accountability. That's it. Has become that, because when you use your ability to respond, you're taking care of everything, right? That inner and outer area, because everything in your external, whether it's energetic or not, is creating a response or asking whether you need to be able to respond.
Yes.
Whether it's to see it, view it, do it, Now it's become something else. If you're not accountable for your actions, then you're essentially unconscious.
Exactly.
Because what you're actually doing, as you are, like I said, you are a node, you know. And that one node might not seem much to you, but as I say, you're 3 people in this day and age of technology. You're 3 people away from touching 1 billion people in your life. Like, seriously, like, if you consider that's 9 of us in this room being able to essentially touch every single person in this world.
Yes.
whether it's a meme or an action or, yeah.
Your energy.
And that's where that side of it begins. Right?
The
That's
other
fucking
thing,
huge.
it is. It's
what
very
happens
huge.
if you got 1,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
So
Now,
accountability is where we're now at, right? We are having to be accountable for our inability to respond, or the fact that we have handed over a lot of the ability to respond to the nanny state. There you go.
Yeah, yes. And the other thing that's helpful that I found really helpful is because part of this was I really had to, I was at the beach one day, right? And I don't know what, this is the downloads, this is how they come to me. And I found myself standing looking out at the ocean, and all of a sudden I started pivoting my body so that I could bend over and look between my knees out at the water and just look at the world upside down. And I was like, and I don't know why things just come to me, and it came, and I was like, oh yes. And I can't remember when this was. And I said, everything is inside out and upside down. I got it. And so, because I usually have full body downloads, if you will, or something like that, who knows? Maybe we'll come up with better words for that too. But I use deep loads too, because they're really deep. But the thing that's been very helpful in dropping the whole person character, the thing that I found really, really helpful is to flip what I've been told about outside and inside. This body, this vehicle, this avatar, this ship is outside. The space is inside. Because it's all happening inside of what I am.
Uh-huh.
See? Right?
And that's the trip.
That is exactly.
Nothing happens outside you.
No, it's all inside. But when we say inside, we point to the body, but the body is actually the outward manifestation. So it's outside. And that's been really helpful because the person is attached to the body. You see what I'm saying? So that was really helpful to me. I just wanted to share that because I just have this sense, this other feel, as I feel into all the layers and dimensions, like I can kind of get this consensus. And shit, man, everybody just wants to go home. Everybody just wants to go home. But the beautiful part is we are home, and we are remembering we are home.
Exactly.
We are home.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yes.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Donnie.
There's that conversation that's been going on for a week now with these friends of mine. And the feeling of not belonging, the feeling of not being where you want to be. And some of us hop around the world continuously because you're always somehow looking for that place where you'll be comfortable, where you'll feel like you are where you're supposed to be. Home is an analogy that we use. But how much of that is the fact of not the place, i.e., the physical manifestation of this reality that we sit in, what village, city, town, province, state, country you're in, but the place as in the structure around it that place is operating under, i.e., the fucked up systems that we've already talked about. They're all broken. They can't be fixed. We want something new. That, to me, is one of the most important things that I kind of grasped in the last year of, I don't want to leave here, i.e., this is a beautiful place. It's not the place that's the problem. It's the programming around the structural context that's been placed around us to experience this place is the problem. when all of a sudden you start looking at it from that angle and you say, okay, well, wait, again, getting rid of the structural stuff around us, taking it down and rebuilding something completely new. We have no idea. Like Ben said in that video, and the guy says, we honestly have no idea what that will look like. And we don't.
The modeling, there's no modeling for it, because if you put it to modeling, there is exponential growth. Exponential.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we talked about how you touch the people, right? We know scientifically that our own personal energy field radiates around us in all directions X amount of space. Well, let's say it's 2 meters. Let's just say for shits and giggles, because I can't remember what the actual number is, but we'll say for 2 meters for shits and giggles. And we talk about that, where you can put out, and your energy feels really good, and you can put out that energy, even if you want to talk just solely body language. The smile on your face, the way you're walking, how you carry yourself. You touch other people around you. And you can touch someone who's having a very, very bad day. And you can have a kind word to say. And maybe it's not even that deep. Maybe it's all you do is smile, and they walk through your energy field. And that, we know, can actually change people. It can change people on a fundamental level that may seem very, very subtle. But I've watched it happen over and over again, where you can meet someone who's having a really, really bad day. And you go and you make a joke and you laugh and you talk and you bring their energy up just by talking to them and being your own energy, being that, I hate using positive negatives, but being that positive, that awesome. Then you've affected that person. And if that person is a shopkeeper, and you've taken them out of their dark mood and you've placed them even into a more neutral space, then everyone who interacts with them, like the next person in the line behind you, as they come through, they're all being touched by that same change. And then they take it home too. And all of a sudden, you can spread exponentially, like we're talking about, millions of people. And I talked about this a week ago to whatever, just recently, on one of the shows, and I said, we get the energy of someone's post. And you know when someone is being a vicious bitch, no matter how light and fluffy their words and unicorn farting words are, you get the energy. So the same thing applies, that if you come out and you can put a post up that's like, that you can share your happy energy, people get it. It's contagious. It's contagious. Now, have you ever wondered why? Facebook, and this is a proven thing, I mean, so absolutely proven, all the negative shit that gets shared goes viral, and yet all the positive stories that get shared end up somehow just disappearing. They just don't seem to spread as far. Because the positive stories,
Peter out. Yeah.
they peter, well, but they don't. I mean, it's controlled. They literally, we know that Facebook actually deletes, like, does algorithms to get rid of that. And the story of the dog that was beaten half to death and left in a ditch to die, that's the story everyone sees. Why? Because it makes you immediately go, oh my God, how could anyone be, how, oh my God. The story, the positive stories don't go out. So we need to, play with that. That's how you touch people. Put out the positive stories. Put out the positive vibes. Just something. Put it out there because it touches exponentially. Even if people aren't even aware of it, it touches
them.
Yeah,
we'll see,
okay.
Yeah. And
the energy you share is always the truth. Exactly. Because you can't hide the energy.
That's right.
You can't. Doesn't matter what the words are, spoken or written, the energy behind them is there. And it's always exposes the person fully.
But yes, so then that's it's all about, back to the Martin Luther King, right? Those who love peace must learn to organize themselves as much as those that love war.
Yep.
And we've identified that the nanny state that's been created is not going to do it for us.
Yeah.
So there's no point painting picket, fucking picket signs and fucking that sort of stuff when that energy, like my biggest thing has always been like, let's just say with the groups like Anonymous, it's like, why don't you create something that's not fucking Facebook together, that can't be hacked, that people can start sharing, that isn't run on negative algorithming? Like, why not just do that?
And they do.
Anonymous, if you're out there listening, I propose that you fucking...
Yeah.
Well, you've got certain things. You've got certain things.
Yeah.
But like, you look at what Facebook's done, and it's because of its algorithms. It's because of the way that it's programmed. It's the same with Google. It's why Google's the number one news thing. Accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise everyone would be running on Tor, right? Everyone would be fucking running on a Tor Onion browser. Everybody would. Because we are smart enough that that's what we should be doing. Because otherwise, what's the point of us bitching and moaning about fucking, the government hacking this and that and the other, Why don't we all have a dongle that has Linux and Tor that we plug into our computer so that we can do all this shit offline? Oh, did I just say something? Maybe I should not. There's all those options, but are we all being the ones sitting on the fence? Are we all the ones sitting on the fence going, okay, what next? What next? So I guess with this show, what we should probably start off with is going down the avenue of identifying the things that can create the thing that we want, not necessarily the 3D model, but the stuff the pre-stuff to that. So I'm quite, and this is up to you, D, as well, is I can put together some files that are the brief and the prospectus of what we're looking at doing with Levity, and the word and that sort of thing, because the involvement of that is not just creating a collective or something online or anything like that. The idea is actually to take this the whole hog.
Yeah.
Is to utilize the basis of what that word essentially stands for, and essentially creating the new model. I mean, we have through the contacts and people that we've studied and all the rest of it, we have, if you look at, like I've said time and time again, if you look at the process, there is processes. We know how these people create international nation states.
Yeah.
We know how they don't pay taxes. Like, people sit there and say it's fraudulent. It's fucking not, man. These people have, trusts. They have these things, and these things are legal.
Yep.
Now, we feel that it's fraudulent because we feel that all of a sudden we're being duped, but these things have been there. Like, they just sort of turned around at some point and were like, you need a fucking lawyer. And we took that for granted.
Yeah.
So we know how these people act. We know what they do. And there is a shift. There is more investment in what they call green energy. Green energy and the movement towards these sorts of things. And there's a lot of information out there. So one, I propose, I don't know if John's on here and if this is going to make his, work more, but I propose that we have, and if there already is one, I apologize, and we'll start utilizing it more, is an archive platform on RTS or something like that,
We
this sort of stuff, you know.
We have it. We just can't use it.
There we go. Sweet. So that's cool. Yeah. So that's the first step.
Yep, absolutely.
We need somebody to run it.
Yeah, we need someone to run it. That's our problem. Is it? JC's too busy. I'm too busy. We need someone who can understand the programming type aspect that will need to go along with it. That kind of knowledge to run it.
Because I've got about 4 or 5 terabytes worth of documentaries and data and bits and pieces, and I'm sure everybody else has as well.
Yep.
And that's what I mean, you know. It's like when you can start narrowing certain bits and pieces down, like on a nutritional health token, you can go through a lot of the fasts and nutrition regimes and diets and stuff like that. However, it's like if you actually go down and you break down through the processes and you go through the content, it's like, you know, we can whittle out and go to someone like Dr. Sebi, who, if you look at his things, there's basically a cure-all for fucking everything. Yeah. A cure-all literally for everything. And there's bits and pieces like that. That's not to negate any of the other nutrition people or doctors and scientists and stuff like that have massive, but like I say, you can go through all of those and correlate them and then add in the bits and pieces. So if we have an archive for these things,
yep,
there's that side of it. And yeah, like I say, we'll start sort of venturing down the aspect, because see, levity is a concept, but because we don't know. Because what it proposes is what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the unknown is us, and the unknown has always been us.
Yeah.
That's why whoever's between us and our attainment or obtainment or whatever you want to call it, that's where it's at. So to circumnavigate that,
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last couple of minutes now. Clive, I know you wanted to talk. You wanted to tell something that had happened with you. You have something you wish to add to the conversation before we go off on yet another ramble.
Yeah. Did you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, this happened today to me. It's about responsibility, really.
Uh-huh.
Most days we go down to the front and we have lunch. And most days we see this guy with his wife. He's a Maltese guy. He's married to an English girl. He used to be a psychiatric nurse in the UK. And every time we go down there, he's reading the Maltese Times. And he must read every single word and every single page number and every letter on the damn paper, because he's there for about 5 hours. Because if I go down at 9 o'clock and then go down at 1, he's still there reading the paper. His wife's sitting there without saying a word, just having the occasional coffee. Anyway, it gets round to, I sat down at the next table to him, and I always joke with him, I always say to him, "Any good news, George?" And he always turns around and says, "No, it's all bad." And I said, "Well, that's one reason I don't read newspapers. It's all bad news. There's no newspaper that gives you good news." And he agreed, but he still keeps reading. And somehow it got around to branch of the law, bit of law. And we got around to the word understand. And I said, you understand that understand means I comprehend. And he said, yep. I said, well, legally it doesn't mean that. It means to stand under. And as soon as I got to the word to stand under, he stopped me. Right? He wasn't having any of that at all. And then we got round to the straw man, and I told him about the straw man, and he wasn't having any of that. And his answer to every question is, does it affect me? And I said, well, yes, of course it affects you. No, it doesn't affect me. I said, well, if you have a debt and you want to validate it, it will affect you. He said, no, nobody, that doesn't happen to me. And I said, well, you're being robbed. You've never been paid in your life, never, ever been paid, right? And you have and you're always being robbed. You're robbed every day of your life, robbed. oh no, nobody robs me. And I went on to try and explain a bit of that. But he was totally unconscious to what was going on around him, and he will remain that way because you can't shift him no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
And that's more or less the end of my story. He's not conscious, and he doesn't care because it doesn't affect him.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting, Clive. And it's so funny because I can picture the guy that you're talking about in my head. I can actually picture him, just knowing the people in the vicinity as I do. I totally can get that conversation. There's a difference. There are those who do not comprehend on any level, and they will never comprehend because of the fact, or I should never say never. It will take something unbelievable for them to ever actually fully comprehend this stuff, because their world revolves as they believe it revolves. They believe, and their bias is this is my world, and they create that world around them, right? Because anything that doesn't match up with what his belief structure is just ceases to exist. There's always another explanation. There's always something else. And then you have other people. And I'll give an example because we talk about responsibility, right? Someone I know who works for hedge funds. And this guy is one of those people who has a talent. He has a talent, and you can call it, he's dyslexic. So he always says, oh, it's just my dyslexia helps me be able to do this. He can look at streams of numbers and he can spot the errors. So therefore, his services are very highly sought after when you have these big hedge funds and they're creating algorithms and they're trying to put stuff together, because his job is to go in and spot the errors. And he makes really good money at it, as you can imagine. And I had a conversation with him, way back, years ago now. And I said, you know that the whole system is completely and utterly fraudulent, don't you? And he was like, oh yeah. Complete, like he understands that fiat currency and what it is. He understands stock market. He understands the debt system. All of this stuff. And he still does the job he's doing. And I said to him, knowing what you know, how is it that you can advise people of, how do you interact with the system as you do? And his response was, I can remember I can hear it in my head. He says, well, I give to charities. And I looked at him and I was like, what? It was, oh, well, I give to charities. I make really, really good money off of all this stuff I do, but I give to charities. And there's a difference. To me, there's a difference. And the guy that you talk to, Clive, is someone who has no comprehension whatsoever. And what choices he makes, they're his choices. He makes are within his little world, and he lives in that bubble. And there's a good chance that bubble will never pop. He will continuously live his entire life within that bubble. And he will make his choices based on that belief structure within that bubble. But then you have other people who know. They comprehend. They still make the choices. This person's case, we talked about guilt. Is that why he gives to charities? He knows he's fucking wrong. He knows he's like fleecing these people. He knows that people are losing and being fleeced by this system. But he gives to charities. And that's how he goes to sleep at night. Well, yeah, okay, I helped these guys here totally wipe out that pensioners fund. But I'm going to give money to charity tomorrow, and then it's all better. And probably the Red Cross. Chris, you're probably right. It's probably the Red Cross. these are the people. When we talk about responsibility, there's a buy-off there. There's a buy-off that they have to do within themselves because they know it's wrong. They fundamentally know what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, Red Cross, Red Shield. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Well, that's it, guys. Our time is up. Our time is up. And that's the end of the first episode of Common Unity. And we got lots of work to do. Got lots of stuff to discuss. Mm-hmm. And Ben, can you send me an electronic copy of the map, please? Because all I have is the vinyl one you gave me, which is like almost poster size, and it's traveled across the world in suitcases and handbags, and it's kind of a disaster nowadays. So if you can send me an electronic copy, I want to post that. We keep talking about the map, and we haven't actually,
I can
put it out there.
I'll do that. I'll send you that and the prospectus, which was our. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you are.
Which is our. As coincidence would have it, I like buying books.
Yeah.
And I went into this antique bookshop and I found this book that was titled An Island Planet. And I was like, oh, that's funny. What's this? And I fucking opened it up and it was from 1986 and it was a UN prospectus. So it was written, and they had a meeting in 1985, and in 1985 they declared 1986 the year of peace.
Yeah, I
so
remember
there was
that.
Here I have this 1986. Yeah, so here I have this 1986 UN prospectus on peace with Jacques Cousteau and all these other dudes talking about a different form of education needed, a different form of economy needed, a different form. 30 years later, like in the middle of 2016, and I think it was almost in the same fucking month as well. So I was like, oh, and I'd been like, oh, we need to have our Jerry Maguire moment. We need to do our, our mission statement, and then I found this thing. So it kind of has put together everything that we want to do with Levity, everything that we have kind of seen as wrong, and put it into a format in a prospectus so it can paint a picture.
So do you have a link
and
to this, like a PDF copy?
No, I'll send you the PDFs because as it turns out, I think the website's gone down and I'm doing some stuff trying to obtain one of the addresses again because it's gone defunct, and an irate ex-associate has all the details and yada yada yada. But I've got levity.com, which is something else I wanted to talk to you and John about setting something up so that but it's all good. It's all good. It all happens organically. But I'll send you those docs through.
Yeah, if you just even send me the name, etc., I can search to find them and I can upload them.
Yeah, well, like I say, I've got them all. I've got all the documents. I've got everything. So it's all good. I've got them all in files even.
Ooh, in a file folder, Ben?
So it's all right. They're easy.
Oh, I had to teach Ben what a file folder was.
Because that's,
You should have seen his desktop.
Because, there's some other bits and pieces there. There's some other bits and pieces there that we can talk about with RTS, with John, and the ability to be able to do that. We can actually start resource auditing ourselves, let's just say. So,
well, that's why we need to get the map up.
Yeah.
Let's start resource auditing ourselves using the map as a basis point.
Yep. For sure. That's exactly it. Well, that's the whole idea, is what you do is you put yourself in the map and then you audit yourself, and then in your bioregion you put all those maps together, and then it will be able to make a bioregional version of itself. And so
No.
Anyway.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
And
Alrighty, y'all. We'll see you maybe next week, I guess.
Yeah, I have a feeling we got lots to talk about. Lots.
Yeah. And okay. We'll try chatting over the weekend, Dee.
Yep. I will be around this weekend, and I'll be around this weekend. So, best times to, your evening is our morning. So, like your late afternoon is a good time for us.
Yep.
Okay,
sweet as.
We will talk to you all later. Love you guys. Bye.
Ciao.